You probably think rich people got rich because they were smarter than you, worked harder than you, or had some secret formula you never learned in school. But what if the real difference between the broke and the wealthy had nothing to do with intelligence and everything to do with behavior? There was a gas station attendant named Ronald Read who never earned more than $25,000 a year in his entire life. He wore the same jacket for years, drove a beat-up Toyota, and never once asked anyone for financial advice. But when Ronald died at 92, people discovered he had quietly accumulated over $8 million just by buying solid stocks and never selling them. Now compare that to Richard Fuscone, a Harvard-educated executive who lived in a mansion so big it had its own elevator. He retired early, threw extravagant parties, and looked like the definition of financial success from every possible angle. Then 2008 hit, and Richard lost everything. The mansion, the reputation, the illusion, all of it gone overnight. So here you have two men. One had every advantage money could buy. The other had almost nothing. And somehow the janitor died richer than the banker. That is the entire thesis of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And today, you are going to understand 5 ideas from that book that will permanently change how you think about every dollar you touch. And the last one is not even about money. It is about the one thing money is actually supposed to buy you. So stay until the end. Let us start with the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear. You are not as in control as you think you are. You work hard, you plan, you sacrifice, and you believe that effort equals outcome. But that equation has a hidden variable called luck. Bill Gates is one of the smartest people alive. Nobody argues that. But in 1968, he happened to enroll at Lakeside School, one of the only high schools on Earth with access to a computer terminal. His childhood friend, Kent Evans, was just as talented, just as driven, same dreams, same hunger. But Kent died in a mountaineering accident before he ever got the chance. One got a head start most humans could not even imagine. The other got a tragedy no one could have predicted. Steve sits at a desk studying late at night, doing everything right, and a coin flips in the air above him, heads or tails, and he does not even notice it landing. Jesse Livermore made a fortune betting against the 1929 crash. He was called the greatest trader who ever lived, and then he lost every cent in the years that followed and ended his life broke and broken.
So what do you do with this information? Do you just give up because luck exists? No. You stop judging yourself so harshly when things fail, and you stop giving yourself too much credit when things succeed. You build a financial life that can absorb bad luck without collapsing, because the goal is not to predict the future, it is to survive it. Now here's where most people make the critical mistake. They assume getting rich and staying rich are the same skill. They are not. They are completely different games played by completely different rules. Getting rich usually requires risk, aggression, and a willingness to bet big when everyone else is afraid. But staying rich requires the exact opposite. It requires paranoia, restraint, and an almost obsessive respect for what could go wrong. Mike Tyson earned over $400 million in his boxing career, and somehow ended up $23 million in debt.
Sam Bankman-Fried built a $26 billion empire and lost it all because he kept making bigger bets even after he had already won. Now look at Warren Buffett. The man has been investing since he was 11 years old, and his secret is painfully boring. He did not chase trends. He did not try to time the market. He just kept compounding quietly for over 70 years without ever blowing himself up. Buffett once said the first rule of compounding is never interrupt it unnecessarily, and that single sentence contains more wisdom than most finance courses. So yes, take your risks early, swing big when you have less to lose, but the moment you build something real, your entire job changes from offense to defense. Because in the money game, the winner is not the one who makes the most, it is the one who lasts the longest. Now let us talk about the lie you see every single day, on your phone, on the highway, in every advertisement that has ever existed. Someone pulls up next to you in a brand new Ferrari, and your brain immediately whispers, that person must be rich. But all you actually know is that person spent a lot of money, which ironically might mean they are now less rich than they were yesterday. Wealth is not the car you drive, it is the money you chose not to spend on that car. And that is why you never see it. Steve stands in a dealership, keys to a sports car dangling in front of him, and he slowly pushes them away, walks outside, and opens a brokerage app instead. Ronald Read became a multi-millionaire precisely because nobody ever saw him spending. He was invisible, and that invisibility was his superpower. Meanwhile, nearly 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes people earning well over 6 figures a year. They earn a lot, but they spend everything, so they own nothing. And that is the difference between income and wealth. Income is what lands in your bank account. Spending is what leaves it, and wealth is the gap between those two numbers that nobody ever sees. Someone earning $60,000 a year who saves 30% of it will retire before someone earning $200,000 who saves nothing, every single time. The truly wealthy do not need to prove anything to anyone because they are too busy quietly buying back the only thing money can actually purchase. And that brings us to the trap, the most dangerous psychological trap in all of personal finance, the trap of never enough. Ask yourself right now how much money would make you feel rich. Pick a number. Got it? Now here is what will actually happen. You will hit that number, feel good for about 2 weeks, and then the goalpost will move. Studies consistently show that most people believe they need 2 to 3 times their current income to feel wealthy, and that ratio never changes, no matter how much they earn. Steve is on a treadmill running toward a finish line, and every time he gets close, the finish line slides further away, and he just keeps running, exhausted. Rajat Gupta rose from an orphanage in India to become the head of McKinsey, one of the most powerful consulting firms on the planet. He sat on boards with billionaires, had a net worth of over $100 million, and it was not enough for him. He wanted to be a billionaire. So he committed insider trading, got caught, and lost everything. His reputation, his freedom, his legacy. All of it. Morgan Housel wrote something that should be tattooed on every ambitious person's wall. There is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you do not have and do not need.
And here is the twist about admiration. When you see someone in a luxury car, you do not actually admire them. You imagine yourself in that car and admire the fantasy version of you. Nobody is thinking about the driver. They are thinking about themselves. And that is what Housel calls the man in the car paradox. So define your own finish line. Not society's, not social media's, yours. And when you reach it, have the discipline to stop running. Because the richest person in any room is not the one with the most, it is the one who can look around and say, I already have everything I need. Now, the final lesson, and this is the one that ties everything together, the one that most people completely miss. The highest form of wealth is not a number in your bank account, it is control over your own time. Forget the sports cars, forget the mansion, forget retiring at 30 on a beach. That is not what financial freedom actually looks like. Real freedom is waking up on a Tuesday and deciding you do not want to work today, and nothing bad happens. Real freedom is leaving a job that drains your soul without panicking about next month's rent. Steve is sitting on a park bench in the middle of a workday, reading a book, relaxed, while people in suits rush past him stressed and miserable.
Morgan Housel wrote that the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, is the highest dividend money pays. And you do not need millions to start feeling that. Even a 3 to 6 month emergency fund changes everything about how you make decisions. It means a layoff does not destroy you. It means a terrible boss does not own you. It means fear is no longer making your choices for you. Every dollar you save is not a dollar denied. It is a tiny piece of your freedom purchased back, one paycheck at a time. So build wealth, invest wisely, earn as much as you can, but never forget the entire point of all of it is to buy back your time. Let us bring it all together now. Everything you just heard comes down to 5 truths about money and behavior. Luck and risk are always in the room, so stop judging outcomes too quickly, yours or anyone else's. Getting rich and staying rich are completely different skills, and most people only ever learn the first one. Real wealth is silent. It lives in your habits, not in your purchases, and the loudest spenders are usually the most broke. Enough is a finish line you have to draw yourself, because if you do not, you will run forever and never arrive. And money's true purpose is not status, not stuff, not admiration. It is the freedom to own your own time. Because at the end of the day, wealth is not a number. It is the power to say no, the space to breathe, and the freedom to live a life that is actually yours.